the so-called skinny muffin with 9 teaspoons of sugar, the kidney stones caused by eating too much meat.
This is how big the stones can get.
Plus, your problem photos, what effect your diet is having on your eyes. The diet doctors face excessive sweating, a stretch-scarred tummy, and a back that's struggling under the strain of almost 21 stone.
You get to very low points. You don't want to go out. You don't want anyone to see you. You fear everyone looking at you, thinking, oh, look at that fat cow.
28-year-old PA Virginia Rose was an active, sporty teen until a motorbike accident left her with a damaged knee.
My exercise level went drastically down, and I was still eating the amounts that I was used to.
Virginia's Antipodean love of red meat means her diet is crammed full of barbecues, mince, and sausages. Secret binging on whole loaves of bread, biscuits, and fridge leftovers adds to the unhealthy calorie intake.
I get the munchies, want to go back, have some more, and it just increases.
She's put on 8.5 stone since she was 16, and her back is bearing the brunt. She can't stand for longer than 5 minutes and gets painful muscle spasms. Virginia also suffers from excess sweating as well as severe PMT and mood swings. Her low self-esteem has left her unable to look in the mirror for 15 years and has had a terrible effect on her social life.
Naturally, I am a vivacious, party-going, full of life person. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that person anymore.
So, sweating, debilitating back pain, and chronically low self-esteem. Can the diet doctors come up with a rescue plan?
Well, I've got a pack full of Virginia's pictures here, so let's see what we've got. Her tongue.
Now, the first thing I'm struck by with that tongue is how red it is. Now, red tongues tend to be in people that are always hot, they sweat too much, often associated with taking too many stimulants, alcohol, drugs, smoking, coffee. And it's probably a long-standing problem because you've got these little papillae standing up all over the tongue. It's what, in Chinese medical terms, they call it a thorny tongue.
So if she's got a thorny tongue, does she have a prickly personality?
Well, it's a good question. I suspect this woman is easy to anger, maybe suffers with bad PMT.
OK. Well, let's look at a more exaggerated example.
This is pretty red, this tongue. This is how bad it can get. And you see this discoloration of the tongue here, but this is extended down further onto the tongue. And this is someone that's probably had a heating problem, if you like, for some time.
Yeah, not pretty at all. OK, this is Virginia's eye.
What I'm struck by is these bloodshot eyes. And this happens with someone that doesn't get a lot of sleep.
Well, and I'm also noticing the shadow here. I'm wondering about food sensitivities, because dark circles under the eyes are definitely a symptom. And fatigue. I mean, she's obviously very tired.
Maybe she's got an insomnia problem.
And this, on the other hand, is a really healthy eye.
You see how clear the whites of that eye is, and it really makes the point. What a problem she has with redness in the eyes there.
Absolutely. Now, this is Virginia's foot, and it's clearly very dry.
It must be quite sore because she's got this big crack across here. I'm thinking about, does this girl have a skin problem, or does she have a problem with not enough good fats in the body?
And this is an extremely cracked heel.
The amazing thing is you can still turn it around if it gets to be that bad.
Well, let's hope she doesn't ever have to get to that point.
The clues point to worrying health problems for Virginia. Her red tongue suggests she has an excess of heat in the body, which may explain her sweating. Her bloodshot eyes show tiredness, and dark circles are signs of possible food sensitivities. Her cracked feet suggest a diet lacking in good fats. At the clinic, Virginia gets a full medical checkup from Dr. Wendy Denning.
It's hard work for you, this.
Very. My muscles are starting to ache. In fact, they're starting to burn.
Yep.
Dr. Wendy takes Virginia's blood to be tested at the lab and assesses her vital statistics.
Oh, you've got quite bad stretch marks, haven't you? You know why you got those? Rapid weight gain.
Virginia's back pain means she has trouble standing for longer than 5 minutes, and it's affecting her quality of life.
I'm just going to hold you here, and I want you to go back. Okay, good, and up. What happens to you when you do that?
Well, my back just crunches up like this.
Does it hurt?
Dr. Wendy examines the extreme curve of Virginia's back, her limited range of movements, and investigates a spinal X-ray.
Do you see that this one is just slightly pushed forward?
Oh, yes.
Can you see that? What's happening is you've got a little bit of slippage forward of the L5 on the sacral, on the lowest part. This is the sacrum here, and this is your L5 vertebra.
And that's
here.
where I'm getting the pain.
And that's where you're getting some of the pain.
Her diagnosis is spondylolisthesis, a condition in the back where one vertebra slips forward due to a fracture or weakness in the joints that support the spine. The biomechanics of the back are altered, placing a strain on the muscles, joints, discs, and even nerves. If the discs are strained, there may be pain leaning forwards. If the joints are strained, there may be pain leaning back or rotating. Next, Wendy gets Virginia onto the superscales to measure just what percentage of her 21 stone is made up of fat alone.
52.4% body fat. Oh, my God.
The blood tests are back, and there's more bad news. She has raised uric acid levels, meaning she's at risk of excruciatingly painful gout.
This represents a joint, and this is the fluid that we have in the joint and keeps it nice and moist and lubricated so you can actually move the joint properly. Now, what happens in gout is the uric acid crystals actually go into the synovial fluid and irritate the lining of the actual joint.
Right.
You can imagine an acute attack that it gets very hot, inflamed, and very painful. And when people have acute attacks of gout, they can have such pain in their joints that they may not be able to wear a shoe, for instance, and they might have to walk around on crutches.
Okay.
The rest of 28-year-old Virginia's test results continue to show worrying health problems. She has low iron levels caused by heavy periods. As Vicky suspected, Virginia has food sensitivities, showing an intolerance to wheat and coffee. And her raised uric acid levels could also lead to kidney stones.
We're going to tackle these problems by changing your diet, increasing your water intake, and getting some of that weight off.
Most of us have become so used to the effects of our bad diets, we no longer notice them. But introduce bad foods to a fit and healthy person, and you'll see the results in no time. This body belongs to former Olympic runner Catherine Merry. She's volunteered to be a human lab rat, a brave offer as she doesn't yet know her challenge. We're going to make this virtually teetotal athlete binge drink for 2 weeks.
My big year in 2000 before the Sydney Olympics involved 6 days a week of training, 4 to 5 hours a day. Discipline is the key. You have to put the work in to get the results out. It's as simple as that. Okay, this is my fridge. Filtered water, energy drinks that I take with me for training, peppers. Always got a big box of lettuce. I'm a mad chicken eater. My body kind of knows what I'm lacking. It just seems to take me towards whatever it is.
A little bit lower.
Before the experiment starts, Catherine gets her vital statistics measured so we can compare the results at the end of the challenge.
Oh, you can do better than that.
That's quite good, isn't it?
Actually, it was good.
Catherine is clearly a woman in tip-top condition, and she's been given the go-ahead for the challenge by her GP. This box conceals Catherine's secret diet challenge, what she must add to her usual diet for the next 2 weeks. 50 glasses of wine.
I hate wine.
She's also been told to limit her activity levels to 5,000 steps, those of an average person.
Flipping heck.
The recommended daily alcohol intake is 3 to 4 units for men and 2 to 3 for women, with 2 alcohol-free days per week. But many people store up units and drink them all over the weekend, putting their bodies under extreme stress. Catherine's going to have to binge drink 5 times in the next 2 weeks. She'll consume 15 units at each session, more than 5 times the recommended limit for a woman. She'll be having a staggering 4,500 extra calories and 600 millilitres of pure alcohol. What will all this do to her body? Day 1, and she's about to find out.
First glass of many over the next couple of weeks. Cheers.
2 hours later, and on to her second bottle.
I'll say, when I stand up,
Head goes a bit bluey.
It's not particularly great. My head feels heavy. I just want to close my eyes, you know.
Catherine falls into a drunken stupor, but she wakes with typical signs of a hard day's drinking.
I fell asleep all right, but then I didn't sleep well at all. I had a completely interrupted night of sleep.
2 days later, and a second binge-drinking session is impending. But previously teetotal Catherine is still trying to recover from the first one.
I'm just so lethargic. My muscles are hurting. My hands are hurting. I've got an appetite. I'm still lingering from one day.
Alcohol depletes the body of B vitamins, magnesium and zinc, thus lowering the immune system. It's also extremely toxic and disrupts sleep. Next morning, Catherine wakes up with flu-like symptoms.
I've got 45 minutes to go see the doctor because I don't feel well at all. So he's put me on penicillin for a week. I think even just that one session on the Monday just was such a intensive shock to the system that it's just knocked me for 6.
Catherine's already suffered tiredness, interrupted sleep and ill health. Coming up, she's off the antibiotics and back on the booze.
Quite enjoying it now.
But now it's your turn to get checked out at the Diet Doctor's clinic. Tonight they're looking at your photos of your problem eyes.
I'd like to start with this one, Wendy, because it is a good example of a bloodshot eye.
It certainly is. Bloodshot eyes are a really common problem, and many of the causes you can do something about yourself. Too much alcohol, being in a smoky environment, looking too much at a computer, being deficient in B vitamins, and more importantly, almost anything else, not getting enough sleep. Now, as common as bloodshot eyes are, so are subconjunctival hemorrhages. What that basically means is you've got a collection of blood under the surface of the eye. Quite often it can be caused by someone coughing too much or vomiting. Now, interesting enough with this photo is it's actually more severe than that, and this is probably related to trauma, this particular photo. So she's got a conjunctival hemorrhage, but she's also got a very rare condition which is called a high femur. I've actually seen this injury several times after a squash ball going in someone's eye. But you can see it with any sort of trauma like that, direct trauma to the eye. And people can lose an eye with this condition, and it can be very, very painful.
I'm sure it looks it in that state. Well, I'd like to have a look at this one because I think I know what this is, but you're the doctor.
Well, these yellow spots around the eyes are associated with high cholesterol levels, usually in people. And this particular tendency to get these yellow spots around the eyes tends to run in particular families who have high cholesterol.
I think the other thing to say about this is that from a food point of view, there is no better food for reducing cholesterol than oats, porridge oats, because they're very high in a compound known as beta-glucans. And beta-glucans is actually what adheres to the excess cholesterol and takes it out of the body.
I couldn't agree more. Well, thankfully, this is a much less common condition, and this is hay fever. And that causes redness of the eyes, irritation of the eyes, this tearing of the eyes, and tends to come either in the summer or the spring, and often is associated with some particular grass pollen that that particular person is sensitive to.
Well, I think the only dietary recommendation I could make for that, in all honesty, would be the old adage of putting cucumber rings on the eyes, because cucumber is very alkaline and very cooling, so at least it would take the heat out. Well, this is probably one of the most shocking photos I have ever seen of swollen eyes.
Well, this poor girl's got an allergy to something. I mean, when you see those very, very marked swollen eyes like that, puffiness, and she can't even open her eyes, this poor girl, the likelihood it's something she's put in the eyes or around the eyes. It could be makeup, could be some eye cream.
It's good that you pointed out about the eye creams, because most people use their eye creams far too close to the eyes.
It's a good point.
Poor woman, it looks so painful.
And I think if whatever it caused it, definitely not to be used again. Throw it out. If it's your makeup, chuck it in the bin.
28-year-old Virginia Rose has eaten her way from a sporty and outgoing teen to a 21-stone recluse. Diet doctors Wendy Denning and Vicky Edgson have diagnosed back problems, a high risk of gout and chronically low iron levels. And there's one big cause of all these problems. This is just 1 week's worth of food for Virginia.
Oh, God.
It's been separated into colour-coded zones. Green for healthy foods, amber for some nutritional value, and an overstuffed, unhealthy red zone.
This is the moment of truth.
To monitor her activity levels, Virginia's been wearing a high-tech pedometer, and the results are shocking. She consumes a whopping 23,100 calories a week, but she burns off just 1,752 calories in steps.
There's 3,300 calories being consumed here every day, which equates to 3 extra days of food every week.
Oh, my God.
Before her motorbike accident, Virginia was a keen sportswoman and talented hockey player. But even the old Virginia might be intimidated by Wendy's shocking calculation.
Even to just maintain the weight you're at, you would need to do 15 hours of hockey every week just to stay static as you are now. 15 hours. Yeah?
Okay, I'm at a loss for words.
Alcohol's a known depressant, and its high calorie content won't help her either.
I suspect this is the sweet cider, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
This has got a lot of calories in it, so when you're trying to lose weight, this is going to be a major hindrance for you. And for your medical conditions, this is not helpful. All right?
Right.
With her comfort-eating foods being taken away, Virginia's feeling vulnerable.
Is a daunting task for me. I'm having to change 10 years of how I've been eating.
Virginia's fragile emotional state is perhaps the biggest concern, and a high sugar intake is making this worse. Vicky has a big surprise: the amount of sugar that's sneaking into Virginia's diet every week in her tea.
You're drinking an average of 9 to 10 cups a day. And in that tea, you're having anything between 1 and 2 sugars, which is ending up to 140 teaspoons of sugar. That's the sugar you're putting in your tea. Okay, that's before we even get on to the jam and anything else that's on the table that's sweet here. Okay?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God is right. So if this is your food, your brain isn't going to work very well. And it might pick you up momentarily, but it's going to put you down so low. So get rid of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we've got all these lovely little
Muffins.
minis. If I offered you one of these now, what would be your first reaction?
Yeah. Give it to me.
Yeah. It would have been that.
It's your baby, isn't it?
Yeah. Very much so.
Does that take away the pain?
It eases it. It doesn't take it away.
Virginia's weight gain has transformed her positive outlook into low self-esteem. She's got into a vicious cycle of comfort eating and avoided looking in the mirror for the last 15 years. But Dr. Wendy believes that to break that cycle may require some painful steps.
Truly, in order to lose weight, you have to re-engage with your body as it is. Because what's going on for you is you're not really engaged. Not really. You are at some level, and another level you're completely dissociated from the fact that you are this big. So what I want you to do is focus on your eyes in the mirror. And just keep looking at them, all right? If you can just do 5 minutes a day, start with your eyes, which are so pretty, and then move on to other parts of your body.
I see they're not the same person.
To remind her just what it was like to feel good about herself, Wendy and Vicky have another tactic.
We want you to go back to this.
Fabulous, happy girl. Look at you. How amazing was that? And you said on several occasions, I was so happy then.
I was. Please help me.
Virginia has a long emotional journey ahead to lose her weight and regain her confidence and health. But nutritionist Vicky's come up with a tailor-made action plan for her to follow for the next 3 months. Soya milk will replace dairy as it's rich in plant estrogens to help ease Virginia's premenstrual mood swings. To stabilize her emotions, Virginia has to drastically reduce her sugar intake, so it's out with sugary snacks and in with fruit-based puddings. To lower uric acid, red meat goes. Instead, she'll eat chicken, turkey and low-fat game. And while her diet takes effect, Virginia will be taking supplements. Premenstrual complex and starflower oil to balance her hormones. And iron to replace that lost through heavy periods. Although Virginia needs to increase her activity levels, before she can be put on any exercise plan, she must see an osteopath to fully assess and correct the problems with her spine. Virginia's under strict instructions to steer clear of her much-loved muffins, even if they're mini-minis. But another option the sweet-toothed go for are so-called skinny muffins. But if you're eating these thinking they're healthy, think again. Starbucks skinny blueberry muffin may have less than half the saturated fat of their regular blueberry muffin, but with the equivalent of 9 teaspoons of sugar in every one, not to mention 330 calories, eat these often enough and there'll be nothing skinny about you. Cafe Nero's reduced fat blueberry muffin still contains a substantial 14.5 grams of fat. And with almost 6 teaspoons of sugar, that's nearly the same as their regular muffin. On their website, the fabulous Baking Boys tout their low-fat blueberry Slinkies muffin as something healthy. But with nearly 24 grams of sugar in each one, it falls way short of anything the diet doctors would recommend on a healthy eating plan. The manufacturers say that removing any more sugar would result in a product that no one wants to buy. But knowing what's in it, do you want to buy it? Don't be fooled by terms like low-fat, skinny or slinky. These muffins are still basically cakes by any other name. Still to come, lab rat Catherine's not enjoying her binge drink experiment. A rough ride for Virginia.
You used your stomach again as a garbage pail.
Yes, I did.
And the dire results of an extreme low-cal meal replacement diet.
My whole self-image now is far worse than it ever was.
Binge drinking has a dramatic effect on this former Olympic athlete.
Noticed I'm putting on a little chobella here.
And comfort eater Virginia faces relationship breakup.
Everything's falling apart.
But first, the diet doctors recommend the best way to lose weight long-term is sensible diet and exercise. But that doesn't stop some people seeking a quick fix.
I fervently wish that I could take a pill for food and I could take a pill to cope with hunger. I wish I never had to eat again in my life.
38-year-old Louisa Phillips has had a lifelong battle with her weight. A tubby teen, she started her first diet when she was just 13 years old.
I have tried everything going. The soup diet, the cabbage diet. I've looked at glycemic index, everything, absolutely everything.
Nothing seemed to work, and Louisa's weight soared to 17 stone. Then a friend suggested trying a very low-calorie meal replacement system. For Louisa, who'd come to see real food as an enemy, it seemed like the perfect solution.
You're given 4 sachets of powder that you make up into a milkshake or a soup or into a little cake.
Suddenly, Louisa didn't have to think about what to eat, and she found it empowering.
To feel in control was just amazing. Didn't have to worry about counting calories. It was there in the pack. As long as I had those, I felt safe.
But the diet only gave Louisa 500 calories a day, less than half the minimum recommended intake. Frequently hungry, she found it hard to keep to the plan.
I found, unfortunately, that I would go on and off the bandwagon, as it were. And so I'd get back on it again, and it became a very negative cycle, actually.
Louisa quickly fell into the trap of yo-yo dieting. Depriving her body of necessary calories on the meal replacement plan, she forced it into starvation mode. Surviving on far less food lowered her metabolic rate. So when she returned to normal eating, her body piled on the fat.
In a day, I'd put on half a stone, and in 3 days, I'd put on a stone. And unfortunately, I carried on eating. So within a month, I'd put on 2 stone.
Each cycle of her yo-yo dieting made it harder for Louisa to lose weight and easier to put it back on.
One day something would fit me, the next day it wouldn't. If I went away, I had to take loads of different sizes with me because my weight could fluctuate so much.
Far from giving Louisa a quick fix, her meal replacement sachets actually worsened her destructive relationship with food. This had a negative effect on all areas of her life.
It's destroying my life. It destroys my relationship with my daughter because she's got this person who's constantly dieting. Such a bad example. I'm setting for my child.
And with no sign of being able to control her weight, Louisa's confidence is at an all-time low.
It hasn't solved the way I view myself at all. It's made it worse. My whole self-image now is far worse than it ever was.
The diet doctors say meal replacements are no solution for long-term weight loss. You should always aim to have an adequate calorie intake made up of healthy and nutritious food. The diet doctors have given 21-stone Virginia Rose a tailor-made plan to combat her serious medical problems, from her severe lower back pain to a high risk of gout. At home, she faces restocking her kitchen in line with the new diet, but she's finding it a struggle.
I feel deprived of what my comfort foods.
As well as a major shake-up of her diet, Virginia's got to seriously increase her activity levels. But her chronic back problems mean she needs to see an osteopath before starting a new exercise plan.
OK, well, we'll just work our way through that.
1 week in and she's finding her feet with her new foods, and it's starting to pay off.
It makes me feel great. I feel really, really good. Rearing to go.
She's even doing the mirror exercise Wendy set her in the clinic. With her growing confidence, the old, more sociable Virginia is slowly emerging from her shell.
I'm actually starting to like myself. I feel a lot sexier. I'm out there. I'm coming back.
After just 1 month, there's been a noticeable transformation.
How are you feeling? Are you feeling as well as you look?
I've never felt better. Never felt better. I'm so alive.
And you're holding yourself so much better. Your posture is so much better. Virginia, I've been talking to your osteopath this week about the treatments he's been giving you.
Right.
Can you tell me how your back is now?
Movement is so much easier. I'm able to get up a lot more easier, walk along a lot more, stand even for a long period of time.
And I'm amazed at how quickly that's happened. Fantastic.
Wendy sets her an exercise plan of 10,000 steps a day, specially adapted to target her back problems.
Having spoken to your osteopath, he actually wants to get you doing more of those steps on a step machine and not so many steps just on the flat, because he wants to work on your buttock muscles.
Working the large muscle mass of her buttocks on the step machine will strengthen Virginia's body, improving posture and allowing a greater range of movements.
How have you been getting on with the mirror exercise? I'm dying to find out.
Well, as you know, in the beginning I couldn't do it. Now, I think I can spend at least 6 to 8 minutes, maybe 10. It's been good for me. Got to realise what my body does. It's not so bad anymore.
Which part of the body are you looking at?
I have to admit I'm focusing more on the top half. I think with more weight loss I'll then work my way down. But one thing I do know is that I have killer ankles.
You do, actually. I noticed when you walked in. And those shoes bring it out.
I know.
Virginia's made great progress but needs to stay motivated, so she's in for a surprise. Using a pig's kidney, Wendy and Vicky demonstrated what will happen if she goes back to her old ways.
Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because you have high uric acid levels in your blood, and that puts you at risk of developing gout. And one of the nasty things it can produce in the kidneys is kidney stones. And what I want you to do is actually feel these stones, because they're quite tough. You see how hard they are?
Very.
These stones are obviously getting in the way. But take a look at this. This is how big the stones can get. Painful. And you can also imagine touching those things, just how much that's going to get in the way of the kidney functioning properly. You imagine how painful that's going to be and how disgusting and awful and just how much you don't want that to be you. Coming out of the kidney is actually a tube called the ureter, which takes all the urine down to the bladder. And it's, in a human, it's a little bit bigger than this. So you can imagine that if a stone like this is trying to pass through a tube that's not much bigger than this, you can imagine how painful that is.
Very much so.
And the last time I was on a plane, I had to administer very strong analgesic drugs, pain-killing drugs, to someone that was rolling around in agony because of a kidney stone. But not only that, it can get stuck. And if it gets stuck, you can get pus and an infection building up behind that. And we've got pus coming out.
Gross.
An infection like that can cause permanent damage to the kidney and even kidney failure.
Virginia's following the osteopath's recommendation and working out on the step machine.
Just gotta remember to breathe.
Like many who lose weight, she's gaining confidence. At this stage, it's not unusual for relationships to come under strain. 1 week after the clinic, Virginia realizes she needs to make another, even harder change in her life. She's decided to leave her boyfriend.
I've been feeling good about myself, with getting myself back on track, and I've been doing a lot of soul searching. And I came to the conclusion that we just weren't suited for the future.
It's an emotional crisis and a big danger point. Virginia can't resist her old habit of using food to get her through difficult times.
I just feel everything's falling apart. I've cheated. I have cheated on my diet. I'm so disgusted in myself.
With Virginia's emotions getting the better of her, Dr. Wendy realizes she's reached a familiar crisis point.
So you used your stomach again as a garbage pail?
Yes, I did. I wasn't particularly liking myself at that moment in time.
Yeah.
No one was around, and I couldn't stop myself.
I'm not surprised that your emotional reaction was to grab for food, because this has been very much a pattern for you, hasn't it?
It has been, yes.
What have you learned from this? What would you do next time when you've got a stressful situation?
I would probably go out for a walk.
Yep.
I won't go anywhere where I can actually get hold of some food.
Good.
And maybe phone somebody to talk it through.
Well, that's a change. That's a change.
Huge change to opening the fridge and finding what you can eat out of it.
Big time. I know. It's a very big change.
I'm really pleased.
Yeah. Great.
This last week has been a big learning curve for me. I've learned a hell of a lot about myself. I know what spurs me. I know where my weaknesses are now. And I know that I'm stronger than that. I know how to change that.
So, newly single and with valuable lessons learned about her emotional eating, how long will her resolve last? Virginia's had to cut the booze to raise her moods and help weight loss. But former international runner Catherine Merry is doing the opposite. To test the effects of binge drinking, the virtual teetotaler now drinks 2 bottles of wine every 3rd day. After her first session, she ended up on antibiotics.
It's just knocked me for 6.
It's now day 9, and with her prescription finished, she's able to continue the experiment. And Catherine is certainly entering into the spirit of things.
I must say that I'm quite enjoying it now.
Alcohol removes inhibitions, increasing your chances of having an accident, which is why a shocking 80% of hospital admissions on Friday and Saturday nights are alcohol-related. Fortunately, Catherine is lowering her risk by drinking at home.
Has to be the last.
In 3 hours, she's got through 15 units of alcohol, more than 5 times the recommended daily maximum. Catherine's hangover will pass, but if she continues drinking at this rate long term, she risks addiction, liver damage, and increased risk of several cancers.
Cheers.
Today is Catherine's final binge drinking session, something she'll be glad about because she's now noticing serious effects.
I feel like a real fat slob. The washing machine's going, it's spinning. Oh, or is that my head? Oh God, you only know you've got to get up. Oh my God, my eyes hurt when I move my eyes.
In the past 2 weeks, Catherine has suffered from nausea, lethargy, migraines, interrupted sleep, mood swings, and bad skin. But will her medical retests reveal even more?
That was quite a challenge, wasn't it?
It was just so many of the effects that just literally ruined my day-to-day life.
But not only did Catherine's health and mood suffer, the drinking's had a significant effect on her physique.
You actually put on 2 inches round your bust. Did you? Yeah.
Right. Mine's the way forward, ladies.
And
to get the implants.
You also put 2 inches round your waist.
Her body fat went up 2.5%. And she put on 6.4 inches over her whole body.
Women who binge drink regularly, they can never lose weight. Because exactly for that reason. I mean, you only did this for 2 weeks, and you actually only did 3 challenges during that time. You still put on 2 inches around your waist. Imagine doing that week in, week out, week in, week out. Imagine what size you get to.
Yeah.
It's now been a week since Catherine came off her diet. With her body back to normal, she's happy to be back in her trainers and pounding the streets. After the break, the results of Virginia's new diet.
Let's bring her in. Hello!
28-year-old Virginia Rose's emotional eating had seen her reach 21 stone. She had debilitating chronic back pain, severe low self-esteem, and a dangerously high risk of gout. For Virginia, the last 3 months have been a struggle. Has she managed to change her ways and turn things around? Wendy and Vicky examine the evidence.
Here we have Virginia's tongue 3 months ago.
This is an incredibly red tongue. She was sweating a lot. She had mood swings. She had terrible PMT.
Well, here is her tongue 3 months later.
And that is a huge improvement. This is a much better colour. And look, you can barely see a coating at the back of the tongue.
Well, this was her eye 3 months ago. And I think we both agree that there might have been some food sensitivities. And here is that same eye 3 months later.
What an improvement. Look at the whites of the eyes.
Here was Virginia's profile 3 months ago, and in particular, look at her back.
Such an odd posture.
Well, now this is Virginia 3 months later.
Someone's taught her to stand properly. Obviously, all the work with the osteopath has been working.
If you were to put a line through this body, everything would actually be standing in the right position.
I really didn't think we were going to achieve such a change in her posture so quickly.
It's 3 months since the diet doctors first saw Virginia. How much of a transformation has there been?
Let's bring her in. Hello!
Come in, Virginia, look at you, the glamorous girl.
Absolutely brilliant.
And you have dropped a lot of weight. You have dropped a lot of weight.
You can see the
You're actually
difference.
standing up straight now, aren't you?
Much better.
But the real proof will be her medical retests. 3 months ago, Virginia's raised uric acid levels put her at risk of painful gout and kidney stones. Will cutting down on red meat and alcohol have had the desired effect?
Your uric acid levels are now in the normal range.
Thank God.
Yeah. I'm really pleased about that, because you were really... I mean, as a young woman, you shouldn't be getting gout. That's my view.
But perhaps the biggest obstacle for Virginia has been her severe low self-esteem. Dr. Wendy's mirror technique has had dramatic results.
I can look at myself in the mirror now. I'm not hiding away anymore. I'm just opening myself out to everybody. And I think people are starting to notice me.
Virginia's debilitating back pain has now gone, and she's able to stand for longer periods of time. She also no longer suffers from PMT. But what about those all-important measurements? In total, Virginia has lost an incredible 12 inches. And she's dropped 3 dress sizes.
We'll start with the breasts.
So at the start of this, your chest size was 50 inches, and you're now down to, oh gosh, 46. And your waist at the start was 44, and it is now 40.
3 months ago, Virginia weighed 21 stone. It's the moment of truth as she eagerly waits to find out what her improvements translate to on the scales.
And now you weigh 18 stone and 8 pounds.
I'm very, very chuffed with it.
It's a great start, Virginia. It's a really great start.
Virginia is just 3 months into what for her has been an emotional as well as physical journey. But she's started healing from the inside out.
You're well on your way to a totally new you and a totally new life. How exciting.
And I think the most important thing for you is stay with this, because it works for you. You can see. You're glowing, you're shining, and you should take that with you forward in your life.
Thank you. Thank you.